Well, friends, another Hallows Eve is upon us. I've been taking a little break from the show lately, but there's no way I was gonna miss out on the annual Halloween episode. I love getting all decked out in costume and talking scary movies. And wearing this mask really cuts down on the animation time. Why haven't I thought of this before? So last year's episode, I tackled a horror movie franchise, the Ju-on Grudge films, and to switch it up again this year, I'm just gonna focus on a single director and highlight some of his work. And that director is the master of Italian horror, Mario Bava. I covered his 1964 film Blood and Black Lace on a previous episode, a stone-cold classic in the giallo genre, but I thought I'd shine a light on some of his other works that really display his wonderful use of color, composition, camera work, and overall talents as a horror director. And I'm gonna do this in multiple parts, mostly because it was taking too long and I needed something to drop on Halloween. Full disclosure. So for each film, I'm gonna outline the basic plot and then just run through some of the coolest and scariest moments. Get it on. So we're gonna start right at the beginning with Bava's directorial debut in 1960, Black Sunday. It's the 17th century and a witch named Asa, played by Barbara Steele, and her lover Yavudich are being put to death by her brother the Grand Inquisitor. She condemns her persecutors and curses their descendants before being fitted with a nice spiky mask right to the face. They're unable to burn her at the stake due to a sudden heavy rainstorm, and so she's carried off to a nearby tomb where she remains for 2 centuries. A pair of doctors are en route to a medical convention via horse and carriage. The elder doctor, Koma Kruvayan, and his assistant, Andrei Gorobek. One of their carriage wheels breaks, and while they wait for the coachman to repair it, they take a stroll around and, wouldn't you know it, find themselves in Asa's tomb, of course. The 2 men are able to observe her death mask through a glass panel and, oh no, look out! A scary bat! Okay, this bastard's gonna need a little more muscle. So now they're able to access the mask and remove it, revealing a surprisingly preserved face. But during the silly little scuffle with the bat, Kruvayan cut his finger on the now broken glass panel, and unbeknownst to him, his blood drips down onto Asa's face. The 2 men leave the tomb and run into Princess Katya, who lives in a nearby castle with her father and brother. She is also played by Barbara Steele. And I just love this shot of her standing among the ruins with her giant mastiffs at her side. But as the doctor's blood drips down onto Asa, her face and body begin to repair, rejuvenate, and reanimate.
Rise, Yavudich. Yavudich. Rise, Yavudich.
Her lover Yavudich is also risen from beyond, and from there, let the hijinks ensue. It's a nice creepy scene when the now animated corpse of Yavudich enters the chambers of Katya's father. Haha! Crucifix, bitch! Yavudich turns his attention to Dr. Kruvayan, posing as a servant of Katya's father. He lures him back into the tomb of Asa where he is locked inside. And if that isn't scary enough, here's something to fill your drawers with poop. Asa has only been partially brought back to life by the few drops of Kruvayan's blood, but she's gonna need more to fully restore her power, and so she hypnotizes his sorry ass into doing her bidding. Yavudich, meanwhile, is still out and about doing his thing, and his thing just kinda seems to consist of walking slowly and creepily towards somebody. Asa is eventually fully restored by draining all the life out of Katya and then posing as her in front of Gorobek. But aha! Gorobek is wise to her as he notices the crucifix around Katya's neck, giving up the ruse. And then, of course, we get some nice pitchfork and torch justice from the local villagers, giving this witchy woman what she deserves. Katya is brought back to life and everything is happy. Alrighty, so next on the docket is the 1963 anthology film The 3 Faces of Fear, but it is best known under the name Black Sabbath. And yes, that is where the band Black Sabbath got their name from. Neat, huh? Boris Karloff is our host who introduces the film, and right away we get that crazy use of color that would become Bava's bread and butter. The film is broken up into 3 scary tales: the telephone, the vertilac, and the drop of water. In the telephone, we have a young woman alone in her home being tormented by an ever-ringing phone. It becomes clear very quickly that whoever is on the other end is watching her every move.
Vedo il tuo corpo stupendo, le tue braccia morbide, le tue gambe perfette. No, non coprirti. Per un corpo come il tuo si fanno pazzie. Io t'ucciderò.
Now, I actually won't go any further into this one because, quite frankly, it's the least memorable of the stories. It does have a few cool and creepy moments in it, though. But I want to move right along to the second story, the Verdalak. The, W is a V. In 19th century Serbia, a young nobleman on horseback named Vladimir comes across a headless corpse of a man with a dagger stuck in his chest. A short distance away, he finds a small farmhouse whose inhabitants recognize the dagger as belonging to their father, Gorka. They investigate the headless corpse and determine that it's the body of a Turkish criminal named Alibek who has been terrorizing the area for some time. They believe he was what legend calls a Verdalak, a creature of the undead who feeds upon the living and must be stabbed through the heart to be killed. You know, like one of them, vampires. Their father had left some time ago to hunt down and kill Alibek, and while it seems he was successful, he did give his family a very stern warning before he set off.
Prima di partire mio padre disse, io ritornerò entro 5 giorni, ma se dovessi tornare trascorso il 5º giorno, non lasciatemi entrare, ma trapassatemi il cuore con una spada, perché vorrà dire che sarò diventato anch'io un Vurdalak.
Un Vurdalak.
Well, the clock eventually does chime midnight on the 5th day of his absence, and Gorka does indeed return. It's a really terrific series of shots of Gorka slowly clomping up to the farmhouse as the family looks on, and the big reveal of Boris Karloff's haggard face. So naturally, the whole family is a bit on edge, wondering if the old man has been turned into a Verdalak or not, but I think we, the audience, know better. Gorka asks how they were able to identify Alibek's body without his head, and the men say they recognized the clothing and jewelry he's been known to wear. But Gorka has the definitive proof of identification.
Prendila. Appendila davanti alla casa che tutti la vedano.
So once everyone retires to bed, the totally and absolutely normal Gorka skulks around the house like a weirdo, peering through windows and entering bedrooms before finally plucking his young grandson Ivan out of his bed and riding off with him into the night. The poor young boy is later found dead by his father Giorgio, but then a short time after that, the boy doesn't seem to be so dead after all.
Ivan!
No, è il vento.
Ignoring her husband's warning that Ivan may be a Verdalak, the boy's mother stabs his dumb ass and runs to the door to let her poor little boy inside. Fooled you! Vladimir convinces the younger sister Sedenka to escape with him, and they come across the ruins of an abandoned monastery. They decide to shack up there for the remainder of the night, but as Vladimir is asleep, Sedenka is confronted by her now undead family who have come for her. Stupid Vladimir awakes to find her gone and returns to the farmhouse. Inside, he finds Sedenka alive and well, and from there on, it's all super romantic and happy. Our final story is The Drop of Water, which takes place in the early 1900s in London. We meet a nurse named Helen who is summoned to the residence of a wealthy elderly countess who has died. The woman's maid has contacted Helen to come and prepare the body for burial. And what a handsome body it is! Ugh. The maid reveals that the deceased was a medium who would hold seances to speak to the dead. She believes that it was evil spirits that killed her while in one of her trances. Helen dismisses this and begins dressing the corpse. She's an awful, awful human being and decides to steal the big pretty ring off the dead woman's hand. She's also a clumsy idiot who drops the ring and knocks over a glass of water on the bedside table. And here we get the drip, drip, dripping. She finishes dressing up the body and heads home, where it seems that the dripping has followed her. Oh, it's just the sink faucet. Oh, wait, it's just the bathtub faucet. Oh, of course, it's just my big wet umbrella. So once all possible sources of drips have been locked down, she becomes absolutely terrified when the storm outside knocks her power out. But she soon learns that she's got much bigger problems. God, oh my god, that face is just so unsettling. She begs forgiveness for stealing the ring, but the creepy old dead lady ain't having any of it, and forces Helen to choke herself to death, which is what she fucking deserves. A nearby neighbor calls the police after she heard screaming and a commotion from Helen's flat. The investigators notice that it appears as if a ring has been pried off of her finger. The neighbor is obviously guilty of stealing it, and it looks as though another creepy dead lady will soon be coming for her.
Beh, siamo arrivati alla fine delle nostre storie e adesso purtroppo sono costretto a lasciarvi.
And so to bookend the film, our host Boris Karloff bids us farewell as we go off into the night. And then, in a completely unexpected and inspired bit of lunacy, the camera pulls back to reveal the film crew, the set, and the whole facade that is making movies. It's a really goofy way to end the film, but I just love it.